Hello and welcome to another belter of an episode of AskFans TV. I'm Maff Brown. Week 2 of the Premier League done, and Manchester United are starting to look like Manchester United again. You can tell that because their fans are being very smug on social media, particularly the ones from London. 2 games, 2 wins, 8 goals scored, none conceded, and that's with playing Phil Jones at the back. Jose Mourinho's swagger is back, the old Manchester swagger. It's so erotic, it could make Roy Keane question his sexuality. Jose was brimming with the "this is the second season syndrome that success seems certain" attitude. His team beat Swansea 4-0. All right, it's only Swansea, he could have put the under-12s out and probably still won, but still, Tottenham, Wembley, what is it? You feel about as home there as Katie Price at a Mensa convention, or Donald Trump in Harlem, or even Eamon Holmes at a Weight Watchers meeting. Although, to be fair, what a free kick by Alonso. It's getting close to the end of August, which means 2 things. Mums posting boring pictures of their kids' back to school photos on Facebook, and finally, the end of the Premier League transfer window. Will we see some panic buying? Of players, I mean, not of shit shoes from Clark's. You know the type of panic buying I mean. You pop into Lidl's for some German hobnobs and you end up with some flashing roller skates and a clipboard with a picture of Kim Jong-un on it. That or Andy Carroll if you're Kenny Dalglish. Now, talking of Liverpool, there's been some uproar this week after Jamie Carragher sent a tweet out. And no, not just because the words were spelt right. It was a case of mistaken identity in Trent Alexander-Arnold and a previous mascot. It's an easy mistake to make. I thought I met Claire Balding once, turned out to be Boris Johnson. OK, so it's time to meet today's guest. We've got none other than the Aston Villa legend that is Lee Hendrie. Lee Hendrie, thank you very much for coming to see us at AskFans TV, you OK?
Come on, yeah.
Come down from Birmingham, you all right? Your sister's wedding yesterday, are you jaded at all?
A little bit jaded, but I'm feeling good.
Well, that'll work in my favour, because basically what happens is I take on every footballer at a game of table football. I've beaten Nigel Winterburn, I've beaten Emil Heskey, you're up next, what do you reckon?
I've seen you and you're not the best, so I'm feeling my chances are good.
All right, cocky, all right, OK, well, we'll see how we get on. So when you finish with Amy, just follow me over and I will beat you at table football. All right, see you in a bit. All right, so Lee Hendrie, going to take you on. Who are you going to be? I'm going to be Steven Gerrard.
I'm going to be Aguero.
Aguero?
Yeah.
All right, good luck with that. Oh, good whistle. Oh, straight off.
Played this before, haven't you?
Oh!
Poor that is. Forgot I had a goalkeeper.
There you go, there's one. Oh. Midfield maestro! Well played, mate. Good game. Lee, thanks again for coming in.
Good to see you.
Sorry about the results. Can't win them all.
Lucky.
A little tip, you've got to keep your hand on a goalkeeper, all right? So take that for the next time through. What was your favourite moment being a professional footballer? It's a kid's dream, isn't it? But is there one moment you could pick that you thought, wow?
I think scoring my first ever goal, really, to be honest, and obviously being a Villa fan, coming through the youth system, putting on that Villa shirt and obviously scoring in front of the whole end was just, I mean, it makes the hairs stand up on the back of my neck, you know, still speaking about it. You know, I didn't know what to do. I remember it was against Coventry and I scored and the ball came out the net and I kicked it back in just to make sure it was, it was one of them. And then I ran to the fans and I thought, do I jump in there? Or honestly, as a youngster, coming into the team and scoring in front of the team that I support was just a dream come true, it really was.
Who would you say was the hardest player you ever played against?
I always say Patrick Vieira. He was a man mountain as a footballer and me skinny wet through. For some reason, he was just, I'd come up against him and I'd just look, I mean, I'm talking about when Thierry Henry, they had a fantasy invincibles they were, but I just used to look at him and think, oh, I've got my work cut out here, I'm going to have to try and get around him. Just couldn't get around him. He was just so good. His fitness, box to box, football knowledge, absolutely amazing to come up against.
Class above.
Yeah.
Dressing room's always very amazing place to be in, particularly as a footballer. Any jokers that spring to mind, that anyone was a big personality for you in Villa?
I've come across quite a few. I mean, I was a little bit of a joker myself, to be honest, in the change room.
Practical joker?
Yeah, I like to mess about in the change room a little bit. I could go through a lot of players and you know, going back to the Daly and Atkinson days and Dean Saunders, them two were just funniest. And I was only a youth team player at the time. go in that change room and we would get ripped. I used to have like a perm on top, and Dino would absolutely kill me for it. So
well, he had some hairstyles himself, to be fair.
Yeah, but mine was rascal, to be honest.
Mate.
So he'd make me stand up on the bench in the change room for I'd single my barnet out when I had a perm on top.
The culture and the lifestyle of a footballer when you played as to now, very, very different. Do you think it's changed a huge amount just from the small time that you've retired?
Yeah, I do, because you know, I look back, and obviously I came through the Villa youth system, and I came all the way through reserves, first team, and then played for England once. But
hey mate, you played for once.
No, one cap wonder.
Better than me.
I'm in the history books for that.
Yeah.
I just think that, you know, we used to have to knock the door to go in the change rooms, and you know, it was having that respect, clean the boots. So I remember John Fashion, who came to Villa, and this just reminds me so much of the old culture. And we had the old boot room, and he came in with Quasar boots.
Right.
Yeah, and the worst boots I've ever seen. I'm not saying Fash was a bad player, because he might do that martial arts on me.
It comes down to attitude of certain players are coming through. And on that, even when you make it, there's still players in the dressing room that you think, well, you're just being lazy now, aren't you?
You come across so many. I mean, some of the foreign boys didn't understand the English mentality of the game back then. And I recall Bosco Balaban, and they bought him for, I think it was about 8 million at the time, wow. Record signing, and he was the laziest player I've ever seen. But there was players in the change room that would tell him, whereas these days I don't think that's in the change room. Whereas I look back at the likes of Gareth Southgate, who would tell you when you had to tell you, even going back to Andy Townsend days. These boys used to think, oh, I need to be on my job, and even when I'd go out of a night out with the lads, Gareth would come in and go, you smell of booze, why are you going out for? So Wednesday, you've got a game Saturday. And it'd make you think more of like, well, you know what, he's right. He's been there and done it.
Villa now, of course. John Terry's just gone to Aston Villa. Good move for the club?
I think so. I think Villa have lacked so much, going back to what we were just saying, the experience. I think they've missed it for so long. I think they haven't had any big players there that can point a finger, and I think JT going in there, for me, whether or not people say he's past it, I think his experience, I still watch him, he's still quality. I just think that they need a leader, and I think him going in there, I think he's a great signing for me, I really do.
If you were still at the club in the dressing room though, would you introduce him to your wife?
No, definitely not.
sorry JT. But you, towards the tail end of your career, you still wanted to play, you still went and played in non-league, you played for Redditch and Tamworth. Basically anybody, by the sounds of it, was in like 3 mile radius of your house. Was that the philosophy?
Yeah, it was.
And you went to Indonesia as well?
Yeah.
So I managed in Singapore, so I know that side of the world.
Yeah, well...
completely different?
Unbelievable. I've never seen a standard of football like it in my life. It was horrific.
Yeah.
No grass, no grass on the pitch.
Yeah.
I'd go into the change rooms and they're putting holy water on my feet and...
Oh, God.
Can you sign? I'm signing all the lads. Oh, it was an experience that I'm so glad I did, because a little story, when I went over there, I was signing for a team in Sumatra, I don't know.
Right.
So I get to there and all these fans are waiting at the airport, as you can imagine, with Bandung FC, like waving flags. I thought, I haven't signed for these. Gets there, the guy went, we've changed your team, you're signing for Bandung FC. I was like, so I've done all my research on where I'm living. No. And I ended up going to Bandung. He went, it's a much better place. It's really, you know, nice living and stuff. So, and we ended up staying in Jakarta for 2 weeks, which was just amazing. But the football, terrible. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
That sounds like when Robinho signed for Manchester City and he signed for Man United, aren't I? No. That's it. Oh.
It was the same sort of thing.
So, Lee, what's the guest bet of the week?
I'm going to go Lukaku. He's on absolute fire at the minute. Obviously scoring goals in his first 2 against Leicester this weekend, 23-10. My money's all over that.
Mate, I'm going to put some money on. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, cheers.
Big thanks to Lee Hendrie for that, and there's more from him later on in the show, so stay tuned. Now it's time for our challenge bet. We were thwarted in our efforts to keep building our pot last week, as the goals just simply didn't go in at the Etihad. Back to the drawing board for us. But thanks to our sponsors at 21Bet, who had given us enhanced odds for the last 2 weeks, we're eager to get that right. So for week 3, we start with £25 again, and we're going to back both teams to score big in the Sunday game between Liverpool and Arsenal at 8-15. But once more, the guys at 21Bet have come up trumps and are offering 4-6 on this bet. So you're getting the best price by far on the market. To get this boosted price, just open a new account with the code AskFans, or if you've been with us from week 1, don't panic, just sit back, place your bet, all will be taken care of for you. So, simply, both teams to score in the Liverpool v Arsenal game this weekend and get the special price of 4-6 only with 21bet. For more information on this, simply go to the website askfans.co.uk. Now then, give me a J!
J!
Give me an O!
O!
Give me a... No, this is going to take too long. Give me an Unty Sergeant!
Unty Sergeant!
Put it all together, what we got?
Joe! Unty Sergeant!
No, just Jonty Sergeant. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Jonty, my young Gordon Ramsay alike, what have you been up to this week?
Cheers, Maff. As you can see, I'm at a rather lovely looking Etihad Stadium today to find out whether the Manchester City faithful fancy their chances of lifting a little bit of silverware this season. They've of course spent big money in this summer transfer window, predominantly on strengthening that back line. Let's go and catch up with the Manchester City fans. It's their opinion that matters.
Well, I think Pep has to prove himself this season, mainly because wherever he's been, it's only been a 2-horse race.
I think it's going to be tough in the league this year, but I think after a good cup run, we should win some silverware. I can't see us winning the Champions League though. I don't feel we're strong enough yet.
Well hoped. I'd like to think so, with the money that we've got available to us. I'd like to think we're going to win something this year, better than last year, hopefully.
Football's gone a bit stupid in the last, well, especially the last 12 months or so. The market's gone absolutely mental.
I don't think it's a question of too much money, as long as you spend it right. The money that we've spent is in line with the market.
Well, if you've got the money, you're going to spend it, aren't you? Because everyone else is spending money these days, so you've got to compete, aren't you? In the grand scheme of things, we've not spent a lot of money compared to other teams, let's say. Won't mention them.
If you're spending 50 million on people like Kyle Walker, you don't have any problem with that, but I can't see any youth players ever getting a real chance.
So when it comes to the crunch, he doesn't like to dowel them, does he? Doesn't like to stick them in the team, so he's too scared, I think.
Thanks, Jonty. Always a pleasure to hear from you, and good work at the Etihad. Now then, you've been putting your questions to Lee Hendrie using the hashtag AskHendrie. Let's see what he has to say.
Were you ever tempted to play for Scotland, given your Scottish heritage, or did you always want to play for England? Well, my dad was Scottish. Obviously, he would have loved me to play for Scotland, but looking at the caps I got, obviously got 1 England cap. I was always going to play for England. I probably could have about 50 for Scotland. So there's the answer. Do you worry Villa will be in the EFL for a long time, the new Leeds? My worries with Villa is that because they're such a big club, that they're going to suffer. I think when teams come to Villa Park, I think they get 30, 40,000 fans there at times. And I just think it's such a big place to come, and teams relish the fact that they're coming to Villa Park. And that's my only worry with Villa. And classing them with Leeds, possibly, I think this season's a really big season. Personally, I don't think they'll get promoted this season, but it's a building block for me, and I think next season they'll definitely be back in the Premiership. What is the main advice you would give young football professionals from your experiences in the game? Personally, I've had a lot of ups and downs, I really have. I used to be a bit of a Jack the Lad at the time, like going out, like partying, but I used to say I'd always come in and train, work hard. If I went back, I would do everything so right and be professional. As a youngster, I was always dedicated, but maybe had to stop the old party lifestyle. Who's your best mate in football? Gareth Barry. We came through the sort of youth system at the time. He's obviously younger than me, but I took him under my wing. We had a great school at Villa with the likes of Jay Lloyd. Peter Crouch came into the frame. But Gaz has always, he's always looked after me when things have been quite difficult. Some years back, he was always there for me, and it just shows you're true friends. And he has always stood out for me as being one of my best pals, and he's still doing it at this level for West Brom at the moment. He's an absolute unbelievable guy and an unbelievable player. Oh, what a question this is. You get offered $300,000 a week to play for Birmingham City. Would you do it? No chance. I don't care. They could offer me as much money as they like. I always get branded being a Birmingham fan. My dad played for Birmingham City, and around the town, I get branded being a Birmingham fan just because of that fact. My nan, that might be my nan's question actually, she might have sent that in. She's a big Blues fan, my uncle, all big Blues fans, and I'm the only villain, and that's the way it stays, no matter what money.
Thanks, Lee, for answering those questions, and we've got another guest next week, so if you want to get your questions to John Solarco, use the hashtag #RSolarco and we'll put them to him. Now then, it is time for the WackyAcca. We've had 2 of these long odds bets so far, and they've gone down the drain faster you can say WackyAcca. In short, the guys we've had so far have been a bit rubbish. So, like any Premier League owner eager to avoid relegation, we decided to sack the previous guy again and get someone else in. So, let's see what they've got up their sleeve.
Cheers, Maff. I'm taking over the WackyAcca this week as the team at AskFans are sacking more people than Leeds United in 2014. And I can promise that this will be the only time in 90 seconds that I do this or this. After the last 2 weeks, the thought of a fivefold in the Premier League scares the absolute life out of me, and I'm instead keeping it simple with a tasty treble in the 3 o'clock games on Saturday. My bet starts at Selhurst Park with 2 teams who have started the season on an absolute whimper. Looking at the 2 squads though, Palace should find a little bit more with Benteke, Zaha and co. I'm therefore going for Palace to edge out Swansea, who look awful without Gylfi and Llorente. Next up is New Boys Huddersfield at home to Southampton. I was down at St Mary's on Saturday and the Saints looked pretty poor, needing 2 penalties to beat the 10 men of West Ham. Huddersfield on the flip side have started the season really well and look well equipped to remain in the Premier League, so bet 2 is for the Terriers to beat Southampton. Last, and most definitely not least, is my selection at St James's Park. Newcastle have looked shocking so far this season and are at home to West Ham. Although my heart is saying that my beloved Hammers will win 7-0, we do tend to struggle up there, having not won at the ground since 2012, and so I'm therefore instead going for a score draw. A £10 treble on those 3 should return about 260 quid, so good luck and bet sensibly. Hopefully see you next week, unless my bet goes in the same direction as the first 2 WackyAccas. Good luck.
That's it for another episode of AskFans TV. Remember, next week we have the former Palace legend John Solarco on the show, so be sure to send us your questions using the hashtag #RSolarco and we will put them to him for you. Also, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and while you're there, give it a like and a follow, also on Twitter and Facebook, and check out our exclusive content. Remember, if the gambling gets too tough, take it easy and stop. Thanks for watching, come back next week and we'll see you then.